I'm going to get them to start the video. It's about 35 minutes long, so.
I'd like to thank you, brethren, for giving me the opportunity to come to you in this way and tell you about the work of Truth for Today. You, brethren, have been very gracious to us. Thank you for the encouragement that you've been to us, for the support that you've given to us. In the New Testament, there are 3 full accounts of the Great Commission. These 3 accounts in Matthew, Mark, and Luke are what we call the full accounts because they give us a lot of information about the commission that Christ has given to us. I will not talk about the one in Matthew or the one in Luke, but I will bring us to the one that's found in the Gospel of Mark. Mark 16, 15, and 16, where Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. He who has believed and has been baptized shall be saved, but he who has disbelieved shall be condemned." I wanted to bring this before us because of the fact that it emphasizes the scope of the Great Commission more than perhaps any of the other accounts. Jesus wants us to take the gospel to every person on earth. And he said, "He who has believed and has been baptized shall be saved, but he who has disbelieved shall be condemned." It's the global commission that Jesus has given to his disciples. And in it, you will notice that he said, "Go." This is the commission that you and I cannot fulfill by sitting in a church building. It's going to involve getting out to all of the people of the earth. Secondly, he said, "I want you to go into all the world." I assume that this is referring to the land area of the world. I want you to go to every part of the world. That's the reason why I say it's impossible for us to fulfill this by just sitting in a church building. And then, if that isn't enough, he said, "I want you to go to every creature or to every individual. I want you to go to all parts of the human race and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to hear the gospel." Well, how are we doing? How is the church doing? We really believe that we're trying to be the New Testament church, but how are we doing with this plain commission that Christ has given to us, a global commission? Probably, if you were able to put together all of the different things that we do, all of the different missionaries we've sent out, all of the different campaigns that we're having, you would find out that the churches of Christ are only reaching out to about 25% of the earth's population. And also, we have it on good authority that 29% of the people on earth will never hear the name of Jesus during their lifetime. And they will never see a Bible, much less have an opportunity to read it. On November the 22nd, 2022, the population of the earth came to be 8 billion. We have a bigger responsibility than we've ever had. We're going to have to go about this challenge of going into all the earth much differently than we have gone about it in the past. Do you and I think about it? If it is true that 29% will never hear the name of Jesus, if it is true that if you put together all of the work that we're doing, we still are only reaching out to about 25% of the earth's population. And when we do reach out, most of the time we're reaching out in English. And remember that 80% of the people on earth are speaking other languages. If that's the case with the church, then we've got a lot of work to do. So I raise the question, are we even thinking about it? Do we have a plan for it? Do we have a good, reasonable plan for reaching out into all the earth? I know one thing, I don't hear us praying much about it. We'll pray for our sick, we'll pray for ourselves, We'll pray for our church buildings, but we don't pray much for the covering of the earth with the gospel. If what I've told you is the truth, then the greatest tragedy on earth is the tragedy of 29% of the people on earth not even having the opportunity to hear the name of Jesus or to even see a Bible. So if I discuss this with you, I want to bring to you 3 big points. These will be attempts on our part to reach out into all the earth. Number 1, if you're going to think about reaching out into all the earth, you most likely, on a practical level, are going to be thinking about adding all of the national preachers that you can. We're not talking about the 5,000 preachers that are in America, the 5,000 full-time preachers in America. We're not talking about them right now. We're talking about the preachers outside the United States of America. We need all of them that we can get. So Truth for Today World Mission School is mailing to around 31,000 men. They're in 140 nations of the world. We send them a booklet that is really expository teachings to the best of our ability. We've called in some of the best men we think we have who know Hebrew as well as Greek and maybe can handle also Aramaic. And we have asked them, help us to exegete this in a way that can be understood by anybody on earth. So we want them to eliminate the big words that they might be tempted to use and give us a good exegesis. And then we translate that. We translate that into the languages of the preachers to the best of our ability. We will send it out in about 9 different languages. God has one Bible for the whole world. So we want to get that Bible to them in the best possible way. And we believe that the expository studies cross the cultures better. We'll take a section of the Bible, we'll try to explain that to him in our exegesis, and then we will translate that into his language. And as that translation takes place, that crosses the cultures much better. You might want to ask, well, why don't you use internet? That would save on the postage. I know we get that question often, but I'll give you about 6 reasons why we believe we ought to stay with the printed page. Number 1, we are trying to raise up preachers. So we're not trying to provide something for the people overseas that they can get easily with their cell phone, but we're trying to send him all of the Bible and trying to give him teaching on all of the Bible. And I just don't think you can do that without sending printed material. So it provides better preacher guidance. A preacher wants a book that he can read and reread, that he can underline, and he can keep for years. Number 2, it helps the preachers to become indigenous. That is, it helps them to stand on their own 2 feet. We can give you the tools, we say, as we mail to them. But you'll have to do the reading. You'll have to do the study. And we can provide these books for you, and they will stay with you for years to come. But you will have to study them carefully in order to get the education that you need. We want him to be indigenous and not totally depend upon us, but we want him to go to the Bible and have the tools that he needs where he can read and study the Bible on his own. So number 3, printed matter has a better library use overseas. They really value these books. They don't have a library. About the only library they have would be the library we've sent to them or are sending to them. And they will take care of those books. And the books will live a long time. He will share them with others. He will take others through some of the books. That's the way he does his preacher schools. He will try to use this as his curriculum as he sets up a preacher school. Number 4, the book, of course, is not dependent upon electricity. If you are just sending emails, if you're using internet, if you're using computers to get this material over there, if the electricity goes off, then you've got a problem. So this man, as he gets the books, doesn't have to worry about electricity. These books are at his beck and call. He can use them anytime he wants to, and they will provide a lot of information for him that doesn't have to go through internet to get to him. Number 5, we focus on teaching the whole Bible so that he has a good grasp of the Bible as he goes out to teach these congregations and preach the Word. Number 6, it has been our experience that if he has a choice, if he has a choice between internet and the printed matter, then he will choose the printed matter. And he will tell us very forcefully, don't you dare stop sending us the books because we need them so desperately. But you will notice now that we do send them out in both forms. We have one of the finest internet schools in our brotherhood. It's called throughthescriptures.com. You might want to check that out. I'll say a little bit more about it in just a moment. Number 2, we believe that we are reaching out into all the earth by developing teachers. Now let me show you how we're doing this. And this is truly an attempt to reach out into all the earth. We took the life of Jesus. You've seen that. It's a 2-volume set that we had David Roper to do. Well, we believe strongly in these 2 volumes. And we're seeking to give these 2 volumes to a large number of people throughout the world. We divided the world into 10 parts, and we're trying to put 5,000 teachers in each part of the earth. Teachers that are well armed with the life of Christ at least, where they could teach somebody the life of Christ effectively. As we do this work, we believe that we're really trying to do what Jesus asked us to do. This last year, 2022, we did take on 3/10 of the earth. We didn't get 15,000 teachers because one of those tenths was America. And we believe we only got 1,000 teachers in America. But we did get around 5,000 in each of the other 2/10. So all total, it looks like we raised up around 11,000 teachers of the life of Jesus in those 3 parts of the earth. Well, you can see that we tried to have America to come in on the 2022 Life of Christ Challenge, where each congregation studied through the life of Christ for an entire year. And as a result of that, there were 35,000 brethren who went through the life of Jesus and prepared themselves to teach the life of Jesus to others pretty effectively. Well, you can see how we've divided up the world. In 2022, we took on America and Latin America and what we call English 3. That would involve Australia, the Philippines, and Britain and Scotland and Ireland, all up through there. And that allowed us to cover a big section that speaks English. Here's how we did it. We sent them teachers' boxes. We call them a teacher's box. That is, it's just a box of tools. And we believe that this is probably the best way to do it. But you can see from the picture that I have of it here that in that box there are 2 sets of the life of Jesus. One set for the teacher and one set for the student. And that way, every teacher who got one of these boxes should be able to immediately begin taking somebody through the life of Christ, even if they have to read it together. And you will notice that this is in Spanish. This is the type of box that we sent to Latin America. But down here on my left would be what we call the salvation insights. We have identified 7 of them. And we have written a little piece about each of those 7. And we are telling the teachers, when you come to a salvation insight, be sure and spend time there and make sure the student understands what Jesus has said about salvation. For example, the first one that comes up would be our Lord talking to Nicodemus and explaining to him how he had to be born again, born of the water and the Spirit. So we have a lesson on that. and we try to help the teacher to make sure they understand what Jesus said about salvation. So the point is that you are to so teach the life of Christ that Christ is doing the teaching. And whenever you sit down at the table to go over what you're doing, you want to try to set it up where Jesus is doing the teaching. We really believe this works. We believe it's very effective. These are the two books that are entitled How to Become a Faithful Christian. They talk about how you obey the gospel, how you live the Christian life, how you sort of organize a congregation. And these two books each have a copy of the New Testament in them. And then we have the white one there. That would be the little book that tells them how to be a teacher. Sometimes we baptize people and we do not give them the proper follow-up that they need, where they can mature into great Christian people. There was a man who came to us and he said, if you're going to try to reach out into all the earth, I want to know how I can help. We knew that he did have some money that he wanted to spend, and we told him, well, what we really need is sort of a warehouse. When you print 20,000 of these books, we need a place to bring them, and we need sort of a staging area as we decide where we're going to send them and how we're going to send them to them, where we can send it in the cheapest possible way. And so he said, okay, I'll help you do that. And he built for us this building. I did not raise any money for this building through the preaching that I do, but this was done on the side. It looks like it's bigger than it actually is. It's just a big warehouse. But by the time we got it built, by the time we got in it, we had it full. I mean, we're ready to do this. We're ready to send these teacher boxes out to people around the world. And this year, we are working on China. Our brotherhood has never done this before, but we're going to try to cover all of China with 2 copies, a set of the life of Christ. We'd like to get the life of Christ into the hands of those who are preaching or teaching, those who are new Christians and really want to grow and want to teach others. We'd like to get this into their hands and help them to grow strong in the Lord and be faithful to the Lord's Word. Now you can see the green. The green represents what we have done. Now I went ahead and put down Sub-Saharan Africa because we did this in 2019 just before the coronavirus sort of curtailed our effort at this. But we came back with great enthusiasm in 2022. Now we're in 2023. But we want to keep raising up thousands and thousands of teachers in all the different parts of the earth and let them teach the people around them. If they can't do any more, then just read it with somebody. That's all right. That would be an effective way of teaching the life of Jesus. America, 35,000 brethren have gone through the life of Jesus. And out of those 35,000, we think 1,000 teachers arose who would be able to teach somebody else about Jesus. You can do that. And if you think in your mind, I'd sure like to have one of those teacher's boxes, you just tell Saul, you want a teacher's box, and we'll get one to you. And you find somebody. There is somebody on this earth that you can take through the life of Jesus. You say, well, I'm not sure I'm qualified to do that. Can you read? Can you read? If you can read, find somebody who will read with you through the life of Jesus. And you can meet ever so often and talk about what you've read. That's a very effective way of teaching. I'm telling you, this is really important. And I hope you're really listening to me on this point. I told my wife, Susan, some time ago, I've got a cousin who lives in Little Rock, and I've never taught her the gospel. I've not seen her much, and I'm going to see if I can find her, see if I can take her through the life of Jesus. So I found her. I called her. Would you want to go through the life of Jesus with me? And she said, I'd like that. So we started going through the life of Jesus. We had another lady who participated in the same study. I would just call them at 5 o'clock on Thursday evening. Both of them would come online. We had our Bible study online. I'd ask them to read a portion and we would discuss what they had read. It was a wonderful study. I knew she wasn't a member of the church. I knew that she had not been baptized for the remission of her sins. I knew that she had never made the commitment to follow Christ. And I was letting it settle in her mind. And we were getting ready to study about what Jesus said to Nicodemus. I was anticipating it, and I'd even told Ludi. Now we're going to have to talk about some important things here pretty soon, because Jesus is going to be teaching us how to be a follower of His. But before we made that next Bible study, Ludi died. I'm so sorry about that, and I'm so sorry that I've got to tell you that. But I want to tell you this because I'm trying to stress how important this is. There will be somebody in your life that you can take through the life of Jesus, and surely you would want to do that. It's not going to be hard to do it at all, and we believe that this will be a wonderful way that you could take somebody through the whole life of Jesus, 46% of the New Testament. Perhaps 300 conversions have taken place as a result of people going through the life of Jesus. I know that's not as many as we wanted. We had churches in 42 states to be involved. Well, that's number 2. Here's number 3. We want to raise up students. We want to inspire the churches of Christ to go back to studying the Bible, really studying the Bible. We want you to read it through, yes, but we also want you to study the Bible where you really know it well. We have an opportunity to know it well, and probably many of us have the time to get to know it well. So we're building a classroom in the cloud, that's what I call it, using computer terminology. We want to have 1,500 courses in that classroom in the cloud. Right now, we've got it set up. You can go to it. The address of it is throughthescriptures.com, and we'll introduce you to it. But we have 470 courses. This is how you can help us. Some of you need to set aside a portion of your will to be used for world evangelism. Not to pave the church's parking lot, but to help people come to know the gospel in other parts of the earth. And you can set this up where your money will be used until Jesus comes again. That's what we hope that you will do. And I suggest to brethren, be sure and give Jesus a child's part. You can do that. It's not going to affect your children. They will get what you want them to get. But give Jesus a child's part and set it up where it will be used until Jesus comes again. But you see, our commentary said, I told you earlier that we're trying to take preachers through the entire Bible. You can't do that just by sending them a few studies by internet. It's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take taking them through the whole Bible. So we have this set up online. It's a school online where they can come free to any course they want to take. We do require them to go through the course. And there will be about 5 little quizzes that they take. We don't let them fail. If they goof up on one of the quizzes, we tell them to go back, study a little bit more, and then come and take the quiz again. But we keep a record of all of the work that they've done. And I can guarantee you this, if you go through all of these courses, you're going to be a pretty good Bible scholar. And what really works well is for you to find 2 or 3 others to do it with you, where you encourage one another, sort of like Weight Watchers. But you encourage one another, and you set up a plan, and you're going to study every day going through the Bible. And then you'll meet, and you'll discuss what you've studied, and you'll take the test and rejoice in the good score that you're having. We'll have 65 commentaries by the time we finish, because we're going to tack on the end of the series a study of church history, a very thorough study of church history. There'll be 1 book on the Apostolic Fathers. There'll be 1 book on the intertestamental period. There'll be 1 book on pre-Reformation. And then there'll be one book on Reformation. And then there will be 2 books on the Restoration, commentaries on the Reformation. As if we're saying to the reader, here's what man has done with the information you've gotten. We hope that you will side with us in choosing to be a part of the Restoration movement. May I say a word to you now about the Ukraine? A number of years ago, I had a student in my class from Donetsk, Ukraine. He said he thought the Ukraine was ripe for evangelism. So Susan and I put together a campaign. It was the first campaign that our brotherhood had in the Ukraine. We used all of the different helps that we had through Truth for Today to set up the campaign. We had no idea of how receptive the people would be. When we got there, we found them very receptive. They began to respond. We would teach them all day, and then we'd preach to them in the evening. And they began to respond. And by the end of the 10-day campaign, we had baptized 124. We established the Mother Church in Donetsk, Ukraine. We met in our living room in August of 1993, and we said, we've got to go back. This time, we've got to have a much bigger campaign. So we decided that we would have 11 campaigns simultaneously in Donetsk, which had a population of about 1 million people. We had a campaign taking place in every location throughout that city. They didn't have cars. We wanted them to be able to walk to a campaign site. We had 11 preachers, 11 campaign directors. And whenever the 10 days had ended, the Lord gave us 1,545 conversions. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime as a preacher. I don't guess I'll ever see anything like it in the future. But we told them this: we want you to meet with us at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, our last Sunday, to be with you. And we're going to have all of the preachers in front of you, and they will tell you what you need to do to be faithful to Jesus. But we had each man to go before them and talk for a minute and a half. We came down to the last man, and the last man said, I don't have anything else to say to you. They've covered everything. And what I'm going to do is to lead you in the one song that we've taught you to sing. You have translated it into Russian. We'll sing it in English, but you can sing it in Russian. I want you to hear them sing this. These are new converts. They had obeyed the gospel within the last 10 days. And here we are singing with them, God is so good. We told our brethren, as they came back from that campaign, you tell the preachers, you tell the elders to go to the Ukraine because they're receptive. And you have to hand it to our brotherhood. Everybody went. The preachers went, elders went, deacons went. And as those bombs started dropping, as those missiles started coming in February of 2022, all of those cities had churches of Christ in them. We noticed that just as that last war started, that the internet said that the people in the Ukraine, 87% of them have embraced Christianity. Now I know that denominational churches started coming in after they found out about how successful we had been. But many of them knew the difference because of the teaching that we had given them. We were able to do this through a work like Truth for Today. We had the tools, we had the books that we needed to use, and we had contact with people, and they listened to us, and we were able to put it together. Well, we immediately started sending Russian issues of Truth for Today into the Ukraine and Russia. And we have done that for the last 26 years. Now, whenever the war started, we had to pull back on sending anything in, and now we're down to absolutely nothing. But we are making plans to have a school, a virtual school. We have a wonderful translator. Her name is Tatiana Prastupa. She has a PhD degree in cross-cultural teaching. She's very astute at being able to translate into Ukrainian. She's been translating into Russian for us, but we've asked her, you stop what you're doing and you translate Life of Christ 1 and 2 into Ukrainian. The church has nothing in Ukrainian. So we wanted to have at least the life of Jesus in Ukrainian. And she has volume 1 done. She's also working on volume 2. It'll be done pretty soon. But we have a brother, his name is Eugene Tikhohimarov, who is studying at the graduate school right now. He has a BA degree in Bible, he has a master's degree in Bible, and now he's trying to get the big master's degree at the graduate school, and I think he's going to be working on a PhD with Amerige as soon as he can. But he is ready to be a large part of the virtual school. He also has a couple of men in mind who are from the Ukraine who will help him with this school. We would have one Russian who is properly credentialed. He's got the degrees that he needs so that the government would register him as a legitimate teacher. And the other 2 men are getting their degrees as well. So it could be that this will be a vital part of our helping the Ukrainians to get back in place whenever this war is over. We hope that will happen soon. If it doesn't happen soon, then the school can reach out to the Ukrainians who've been transplanted, maybe even Ukrainians who are here in the States. But we believe this is the next big step we need to take. Help us if you can. Thank you for the wonderful help that you have been to us in the past. And you can see we're really trying to do some good things concerning reaching out into all the earth. Let's stay with this. Let's do our best at it so that whenever we see Jesus, we'll be able to say, Lord, we were really trying to reach out into all the earth. God bless you.